All right, so for today, we ended up going back to our Sandbox notebook. And so again, if you don't have any of these mentor texts or if you don't have your Sandbox at home, you can either just follow along with me on here for now, because we're not really going to reference a whole lot to the actual mentor text. But if you ever needed to re-look at a mentor text, if you ended up going back to Schoology, which is right here, sorry, all the mentor texts are right here. So just know that those are there for you, and we'll get them already for you in there every time. Okay? All right. Going back to what we did today. So we ended up going to the one we did last time, which was Vampires of the Deep. We talked about that last time. Last time we did this whole PT or the PTOF thing. This time what we ended up doing is we talked through the different types of writing structures that are in here. And so there's cause and effect, and there's also problem solution. So with the cause and effect, so basically there was a cause that, because something happened, there were different effects. And those potential effects could be a positive thing or a negative thing. So sometimes an effect can lead to a problem, which then has to come to a solution. So if we're looking at Vampires of the Deep, we ended up coming up with these for what it was. So the cause is that these canals were dug, and the effect of those canals being dug is that the sea lampreys entered the lakes. Sea lampreys killed fish and the ecosystem, and then ships could also pass through. So as we're looking at these different effects and knowing the overall gist of the mentor text, we know that this one specifically is what the problem is, knowing what the text was saying. So sea lampreys killed fish and the ecosystem. So this effect becomes the problem. Okay, so I rewrote that down here. And then from this problem, going back to the actual text, it goes in here, and on one of the sides it says searching for solutions. And so from that problem, they had different solutions come up. So as a class, we talked about that as well. These are different solutions that they came up with. They had scientists use chemicals to kill the lampreys, traps for lampreys, cooked lampreys, all the different things. These two ended up not working, and so this is the solution that they ended up coming up with. So we did this today just to kind of see that, yes, there's cause and effect. There's also problem solutions. They are a little bit different, but they do work hand in hand. Okay, so this is something that you need to make sure that you write down in your Sandbox notebook if you have it. If you don't have your Sandbox notebook, you can write this on a separate sheet of paper. And then all I do is I ask that you to take a picture of it and send it to me in the email that you send at the very end. If I do not get this by the next time I have you in class, I'll put it in as missing. So make sure you send me that picture, or you come show me it when you have class the next time, like the next class that you would be here. So if you're only missing like a day, make sure you bring it to me that following class. But if you're on AMI, make sure that you take a picture of it and send it to me so that way you are updated. All right, so this, you can either pause and you can do it from here, or if it works better for you and you want to go back to this, I also have this in the notes in classroom practice. You're going to look for the problem solution, Vampires of the Deep. So you click on that and it's going to show you exactly what is on my screen right here. So either way is fine. That's what we did there. Okay. After we ended up doing that, we went back to the toilet on the moon piece, and we talked through what that piece was about as well. And all we really did with this is we wanted to get the PTOF thing, and then we also wanted to do the problem solution with this as well. Because again, this is a problem, and they came up with different solutions. So after we ended up talking, we put down this information. We did the PTOF. We said it was to inform about how NASA's having a difficult time figuring out how to create a toilet to go poop on the moon. So it's not like an issue. The audience is middle school, the author's scope writer, and the article, the format is an article and its problem solution. So we have that down there. And then we ended up doing this underneath, telling us what the problem and solution was. So the problem is that NASA needs a new toilet that works with and without gravity. And then the solution, they launched a contest, which is the Lunar Loo Challenge. Then they took the finalists, and they're going to use elements of each of them, or what they like, to design a new toilet. We don't know if that solution is going to work yet because they haven't done it, but that's the problem and solution. Okay, so again, this needs to be written down. If you just have a separate sheet of paper because you don't have your notebook, that's fine. And then when you get back to school, you'll tape it in there. Otherwise, I do need you to take a picture of this and make sure to send it to me in the email as well, because if you don't, it will go in as missing by the next time you have class. Okay? Again, if you would rather not pause here and transfer from this, you can go back to here, and you can go to the Patav thing right there and go to the toilet on the moon, and you will see this exact same thing. Okay? So there's 2 different ways to find that. All right. After we got done doing that, we dove back into our resource notebook, and we took more notes and conversation about fiction signposts. That's on page 38 in your resource notebook. Again, if you have your resource notebook, awesome. You can just go ahead and do that. If you do not, you'll end up writing this information on a separate sheet of paper, and you will bring it back to school with you and put it in your resource notebook when you get back. Again, this is something you want to take a picture of and send it to me in the email as well. Okay, so we, on this particular one, we had already done contrasts and contradictions, so these 3 are the ones that are different. What you are going to need to do is to write these down, but you also need to make sure that you are watching the videos that are also in the directions. So I'll show you that in just a second. So you're going to write again and again, and then I'm basically going to tell you what that is really quickly so you can kind of see what that is. So let me go back here. Fiction signposts. So again, we talked about how fiction signposts are places in reading that you need to stop and think about what you're reading in order for you to comprehend. All right, so the signpost again is that there's words and objects or images that are repeated over and over. And so when you notice that, you need to stop. You need to ask yourself, why does this keep showing up over and over again? Okay, so I'm going to have you pause here right after these directions, because what you're going to do is you're going to watch this first video, which is Destiny, and that is in this right here. If you go back to the only if absent, and you go to October, and you go to today, it's right here. Click for Fiction Signpost Video 1. It's again and again. So you're going to click on that one. It's going to take you through that video. After you get done with that video, you're going to hit play again. Okay, so go ahead and go do that. Go ahead and pause and go do that, and then hit play again, and we'll go from there. All right, so you just got done watching the first video, which again and again was Destiny. And so you'll want to make sure to write this down. Destiny, clocks, hit by a bus. So essentially from that one, it kept happening again and again because this guy kept looking at the watch, kept looking at the clocks. He was very fixated on the clocks, and he kept getting hit by a bus, and he wasn't really understanding why. And then when he broke all the clocks, and then he realized, and he went outside, he was actually able to see the sun. He enjoyed the sun. And so I think his whole thing of like why the author or why the person who made this did that is for us to understand, to look up and like see the world. Don't be so fixated on knowing the time, that kind of thing. Okay. So that was again. All right. The next one is Words of the Wiser. So this one, go back here, is when there's an older or wiser character giving advice or insight to something. Time usually slows down. It's during a quiet moment. In a book, it would be more so like if there's a conversation happening, so you have dialogue between two different characters. When you notice this, you want to ask yourself, what's the life lesson and why is this important? Before you kind of move on, because you want to make sure that you're understanding what the life lesson is. Okay? The one we did here was Madagascar. So again, this video link is going to be in there. I'm going to have you watch this, and then you'll come back to me. So I'm going to show you. So it's this second one right here, Fiction Signpost Video 2, Words of the Wiser. You're going to watch that and then come back. So go ahead and pause and watch that, and then we'll come back when you're done. All right, so after you did that one was a kind of a silly example, but it's Madagascar. So you're going to write this down, Words of the Wiser, Madagascar, Advice on Love. But I know it's a funny example, but it shows you how it's kind of just in between those two characters, and time kind of slows down. Like that's what we're talking about. So when that thing happens in a book or in anything you're doing, you need to stop and ask yourself, why is this happening? What's the life lesson? That kind of thing. All right, the last one we did today was Tough Questions. So I'm going to go back to that one as well. Tough Question is right here. There we go. So this is where a character is asking themselves a tough question that troubles them. It may be repeated, but it's not a simple answer. It's not a yes or no. It's not a whatever. So example of this would be like, what's my purpose? How can I solve this problem? Why is this happening? That kind of thing. So when you notice these questions being asked, you need to ask yourself, what does this question make me wonder about? What does this question tell me as a character? Okay. The one we ended up watching for this one was Mulan. So what you are going to do is you're going to go back over here. Fiction Signpost Video 3, Tough Questions. You're going to click on this. You're going to watch that video. And then when you are done, you're going to come back to me. So go ahead and pause and watch that video. All right, so that one was Mulan. That was different tough questions. And if you know the movie, you kind of understand that. But it was reflection. Who am I? She's trying to figure out who she is because she doesn't really feel comfortable with all the things being asked of her family, that kind of thing. So that's a who am I question. And that kind of moves the whole story along. Okay? So again, if you know Mulan, you kind of get that. If not, I kind of gave you some insight in there. All right. So this, again, if you need to just write this all together, you can pause this and write this down. Or if you need to go back to the reading writing course, you can go to where it says notes and it says fiction signpost notes day 2. I'm saying day 2 because the first one that we ended up doing was just over contrasts and contradictions. So you're going to want to click on the one that says day 2 and it will take you to these notes. Okay. That's all we ended up doing. So then when you get done, make sure you follow the directions on this right here, that you read, all that kind of good stuff. But make sure all of those pictures that you have taken a picture of all of them and I see them in your email to me. And then you email me a 1 to 2 sentence summary of what you read. That's what we did. All right. If you have any questions, please email me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right. Good luck.